Hi everybody, welcome to Time with the Judges session 1 on this lovely Saturday morning to start off BABS Learn. I hope you're all well and you have had a great week and are looking forward to a lovely weekend of BABS learning. So without further ado, please switch your view to speaker view, keep your video muted, video and camera off and muted. And here is Mike Warner to give you an intro. Thanks, Mike.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much, Pippa, for being our host and looking after all the proceedings for us today. So just to reiterate a couple of things with everybody, this is obviously the Time with the Judges, and we'd like to basically take you through some online etiquette. First of all, we are going to be more than happy to answer your questions. Please type them into the Zoom chat and we can pick them up and then we will deal with them at the end. If once you have submitted your question, you just discover somebody else has asked the same question and you want to retract your question, then again, just let us know through the chat. As Pippa said, please keep your video switched off and your microphone muted. This cuts down the background noise for all participants, and it also helps in terms of when we're watching the videos. It stops hopefully some of the lag that might happen at that time. Thank you in advance for your cooperation on that. Okay, so we have a learning objective for today, and that is really to give you an understanding of the different judging categories and how they overlap with each other. Every single judge has 100 marks to play with per song. So there is obviously perfect advantage for everybody in getting an understanding of how they can get better with these things. So to help us with that, we are going to look at what makes a C, a B and an A score and what elements feature within those things within the world of Barbershop. Okay, so my name, as you know, is Mike Warner. I happen to be a performance judge, but I'm going to be chairing today's session. And with me, we have a fantastic panel, which are specialists in the categories that they represent. We have Ed Cox as our music judge. We have Helen Warner as our performance judge, and we have the fabulous Rhiannon Owens Hall as our singing judge. Okay. So they're going to give you, when I give them the chance, a brief introduction and overview of each of their categories. And then we're going to watch and listen to 3 performances at different levels. But what we've decided to do is we're going to basically play you the same song. Snippets of those songs, but as these performances improve, it will give you an idea from the different judges' perspective of what things their category is looking for. Okay, and then at the end of that, it will be your chance to actually ask the judges anything you like about their categories, and then I will pass those comments on and the questions to each category. Just to give you an idea of the kind of things we're looking at, on the slide now is the top of each of the judging forms. So the music form top is the first one, followed by the singing, followed by the performance. And they show you the elements that make up a performance in each level. And these are the kind of things that the scoring judges are going to be making a note of while they're watching your performance. And there could be elements where you get a bit of each. So you might get some elements of B, some elements of A, and so on. But I'm going to hand over, first of all, to Ed, and he's going to give you an idea of the kind of things that the music category would be looking for. So Ed, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mike. So the music category looks at the song and arrangement as performed. We're not actually judging the arrangement itself, but how you as a performer bring that arrangement to life. And we do that looking at 5 areas. They are consonants. This is what a lot of people refer to as lock and ring. It's that nice locked sound, good overtones, good expanded sound, linked very well with singing as well. We've got the musical theme. So each song that you sing has at least one predominant theme. It might be the melody, it could be the lyric, it could be the harmony, it might be a rhythm theme, it could be a comedic number. But whatever that is, have you understood that theme and have you actually brought that theme to life? We've got embellishments. Now, embellishments is things that the arranger has put in to enhance the music. So it might be swipes, echoes, bell chords. The tag is an embellishment. And they help create life and interest in the music, help create forward momentum, emotional impact. How well do you bring those embellishments to the fore? Execution, which is basically how you actually, are you well rehearsed? Are you synced? Is the timing tight? So how well are you bringing that out? And then finally, delivery, which crosses over quite a lot with performance. So it's about sort of the believability and the impact on the audience and how much your technique is showing through versus how much we're just sold by the whole performance. And because we're talking about performance, I think it's appropriate that we go to performance next.
Yes, so that's me. Hello, everybody. So the performance category, we evaluate the entertainment within the barbershop style. And the 5 things that you saw on the top of our score sheet, the sort of overarching things that we're looking at are the entertainment. So that's kind of the impact on the audience. If you're doing a comedic performance, are you making them laugh? Are we moved in your emotional sets? That kind of thing. The audience rapport, have you got the audience on your side in your story? Obviously, in a barbershop contest, everybody's on your side because we're a wonderfully supportive hobby. But are we on your side in your story? Do we believe you? Are you being generous to the audience, being vulnerable on stage and letting us into the emotion? Expressiveness, of course, speaks for itself. We're looking for both visual and vocal expressiveness, so expression in the way you give us the lyrics, that kind of thing. And then visual vocal agreement. Some people kind of potentially are under the false impression that the performance category is a visual category only, but we're not, because of course you can give us emotion, you can give a story through vocal techniques as well as visual techniques. So are you singing a happy song but looking distinctly worried, because that's probably going to be picked up by someone, or if you've got this lovely smooth legato line going on and some crazy energetic choppy choreography, those are the kind of things that might flag up in that area. And then finally, believability, which of course, again, speaks for itself. Do we believe you? Are you buying into the story so that we can then buy into it with you? Are you being genuine? Or this is where things will come up like distracting hand gestures and that kind of thing that aren't believable in a real life context, and things like lovely conversational ad lib if you've got lyrics in that way. So that's performance in a nutshell. I realize it's very quick, but we're going to pass on now to Ree for singing.
Hi everybody. So in the singing category, I hope you can all see me. In the singing category, we evaluate the degree to which the performer achieves artistic singing in the barbershop style. And it is very much about the barbershop style and the artistic singing. All of those are interlinked. So we're looking for a high precision in intonation. I'll talk a little bit more about that. Just intonation's got to be absolutely together. Melodic intonation, maintaining the tonal center of the actual song that we started off, the pitch that we have. Harmonic intonation, using the intonation to reinforce the harmonics and the overtones to give extra expansion, and the tonal center to try and maintain that through the whole song. We're looking about vocal quality. Is it well supported? Is it a good skill? Is it freely produced? Is it resonant? If there's vibrato there, is it controlled? Is it in the lead voice? Appropriate volume levels, never too loud, never too quiet, okay? And note accuracy, again, that impacts on everything. The next one is unity, okay? So you match your vowel sounds, making sure we're all singing together. The sound, the tonal sound, the timbre of the voices to match so that nothing's sticking out or popping out. We're looking for synchronization and precision, starts, ending of words, those sort of things. So make sure that the sound continues and the sound flows, and that we can hear the diction, that it's articulated clearly, but it flows, and that's the important thing. It's not just a question of the words, they need to flow one to another. So that word flow is really important. And then we come to expansion quality. It's the sound that we all hear, we all love hearing, and we know when it's there and we know when it's not there. It gives a fullness to the sound. It has you've heard somebody mention lock and ring already. It has a ringing quality, and if it's all there all the time, we think we can hear the angels singing along with us, because it sounds more than the 4 parts. And the final section is vocal expression. It used to be called artistry, but it's still the same thing. It's how you actually sell the beat and the song? Do you use different nuances? Are the musical choices that reinforce the enunciation and the inflection of the words? It's got to be seamless as possible. Is it totally transparent? Okay. Is it a musical delivery? And we use tone color to create moods, and we change it. Those are the sort of things that we're looking for in the singing category. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ree. Excellent stuff. So hopefully you've now got an idea of the different things that the judges are going to be looking for. So I'd like to encourage anybody who's watching in today, ideally if you've got a pen and paper to hand, not only to remind yourself of the questions that you want to put to us, but also so that you can be maybe looking to write down comments about the performances that you get to see, things that perhaps if you have aspirations to yourself become a judge at some time, that you'd be noting these things down, things that are positive in the performance, things that you could encourage the performer with, but equally things that you know that would make that subtle difference to help them improve. So without further ado, we're going to take you to our first contestant. And again, thanks to all of the contestants who we are using their performances for. Here we go with Innocent Murmurs, the first quartet. Thank you.
Everything was ours. We were so happy, so happy. Once upon a time, a girl with moonlight in her eyes put a hand in mine and said she loved me so. But that was once upon a time so long, very long ago.
Excellent. So I'm now going to ask Ree to go through the singing comments on this one, and then it'll be Ed, and then it'll be Helen after that.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, from the outset, it's very important that we always share with the competitors the good things that they're doing from the beginning, and then any areas for improvement, we suggest those to help them build on the strengths that they've already established within the way that they're singing the song. So from the singing perspective, this was a secure onset of the sound from the beginning, okay? Their voices are strong and they display accurate intonation, and overall, the vocal quality is good, okay? And there is great potential here as a quartet. There's a huge future there if they keep going, okay? For things to think about in the future, I would suggest that the balance and the resonant match within the quartet, the lower harmonic parts, need to work a little bit closer together so that they can provide what I would call a comfortable harmonic cushion so that the lead can sit the sound on the top of that. And that would become a meaningful vocal line. Okay, it would help them to deliver a consistent expansion throughout. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it is. And they could also do with considering they are singing very much as a unit. They're very careful, they're very well rehearsed, they know what they're doing. But I get the feeling that they are very well rehearsed and they are very careful about doing it. It needs to relax into the song so that the song has some meaning vocally, some more expression. So I think they need to make more of the enunciation and the inflection potential to paint vocal pictures with the sound that they can create. The sound is rather stilted, okay? And what we need is rather flowing phrases, which are absolutely characteristic of Barbershop, so that they engage the listener in the story that they're telling. And that's one of the characteristics of Barbershop. So the question is, we have some of the techniques here, most of them are consistent, but there needs to be more flow and expression to be very with the barbershop style as we're accustomed to hearing it, rather than, and if I were to say something, it feels as if they're singing the note values from the music, and the music needs to flow. Very good singers, but we need to take them on to the next level. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Ree. So I think from a music point of view, you'll see a lot of crossover with singing on this particular one. If we look at these performers, they have actually a very nice consonance when they do lock. And as we talked about, you know, as they develop more, hopefully they'll manage to balance with each other to lock that sound even more. But it's a great base to start with. And their sync is generally quite tight. They've got very good diction, so they're performing well. But their problem is, you know, Ree said this is like taking the dots off the music rather than actually putting any sort of interpretation into it. You know, I think this is an example of quite junior quartet. They've just started out and they've seen Barbershop and they've seen these wonderful things that people are doing. And they've gone, I want to do that. And they've taken a performance and gone, right, so we should do this here, we should do that there. But they've not actually thought about why are we doing that. So what we want to see here is sort of actually understanding the reason for the phrasing, the reason that words are there. Why has the arranger put emphasis on certain words? You know, the phrasing, we have what we call white space between phrases. So we said, moonlight in her eyes, put her hand in mine, and said she loved me so. And there's this big gap. You need some propulsion there. You need to have a reason why you're taking that breath, whereas at the moment that's not really coming through. The other thing that I picked up was about the emotions. So this will probably cross over with what Helen's going to have to say. This is not a happy song per se. This is about a love lost once upon a time, but there were very happy reflective moments. You look at the moonlight in her eyes, you know, once upon a time we were so happy. And they've got the message of we're not there now, but they're not actually selling the happiness of the message at that time. So that could definitely come through. And I think this is a case of inexperience. I think they've got a lot of potential. And you know, this is a quartet I would love to see develop further down the line. Hopefully Helen can pick up on some more.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. So from a performance perspective, there are some brilliant things to pick up on, considering that we are all aware that they're sort of new to Barbershop and potentially less experienced. Their actual sort of stage presence and confidence on stage, they're not coming across as very terrified or anything like that. They are quite self-assured in themselves, and they're obviously very prepared. They are of course very good singers. Their actual singing is great. It's just that as Ree was saying, there's some work to be done on actual barbershop sound expansion, that kind of thing. And then also there are some visual cues that they are engaging with the emotion of the song that they're singing. There is a moment where the gentleman on the left for us sings "Put Her Hand in Mine" and has just a little hand gesture that maybe is him reaching for a hand, that kind of thing. So they are engaging with the lyrics that they're giving to us sometimes. I think the biggest things that I would pick up for this quartet at this stage are things that have basically already been brought up, and you're going to find that the longer we go on, you're going to find that there is quite a bit of overlap between categories sometimes. So for example, their phrasing choices, they held out the word once for a very long time, which is not something we're used to. And in natural conversation, you probably wouldn't say once upon a time when you're telling a story. So there are some phrasing choices that aren't very natural, and maybe we need to look at the lyric in that way. And this whole song, and it's quite a well-known song, of course, in barbershop circles, does have that whole throughout. It has the whole rocking between the bittersweet, slightly bittersweet, but happy memories, and then the change to, and now we don't have that anymore. And there are a lot of indicators quite often in lyrics that you can find. And one of the biggest ones is the word but, where there should be a change. And these guys don't show us a visual change in the story that they're telling. So words like but, or then, or although, or however, those kind of things can be really obvious indicators that there should be some sort of change in the emotion or in what the story is that you're telling. So it'd be really good if they could build that into their visual plan. At the moment, they kind of just look like they're thinking quite hard about singing. It's what we would say, they're preoccupied with their singing. So those are the sorts of things that we might pick up at this point. And I imagine, I realize we all forgot to do this, but we're probably all scoring somewhere around low B-ish area. I'm about 62, 63.
I'm 64.
Yeah,
I'm a bit higher, around 67.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll notice as we go on more and more overlap between the categories. You may also notice it's worth flagging that sometimes judging videos, especially judging small clips of songs rather than a whole live performance, might differ from the actual score they got if you are a stats nerd on the day. So just be aware of that as well. But I think I'm now going to skip on to the next contestant. I will mute myself.
Thanks very much, Helen. So yes, next contestant up is Silver Street. Enjoy.
Should I go first? I'll go.
How the breeze ruffled through her hair, how we always laughed as though tomorrow wasn't there. We were young and didn't have a care. Tell me, where did it go? Once upon a time, the world was sweeter than we knew. Everything was ours. How happy we were then, but somehow.
Okay, so I'm going to go first this time from a music perspective. So we were saying that the last performance was probably around a 65-ish if we average the three categories. I would say this is more of a 75 for music. You can hopefully hear there's a definite difference. The consonance levels are that much greater. It's a lovely, tender delivery they're giving here with a clean and beautiful sound. And there's clearly some sensitivity to the nuance of the lyric. You know, the world was sweeter than we knew, and you really feel that sweeter in the way they deliver it. There's early on the wonderful word painting, the breeze ruffling through her hair. You know, the way they're bringing those words to life is magical, and you know, we love that kind of stuff. The balance to that as to why it's only a 75 and not higher is we see brilliance like this, and then we see areas where we find what we call distractions, things that take us out of that. We have that wonderful swell on that, where did it go? But as they come down on that, it was, where did it go? Suddenly became very robotic and brought us out a little bit from that. The tuning was great, but the interpretation had slightly lost its believability. Also, you have some lovely moments for the baritone, for the tenor to pop out, and they delivered them in tune, but perhaps they lacked the sensitivity quite as required. And as the baritone has this lovely floating upon a time, where you could actually again feel that beat, each beat that he was singing, you could feel him counting out the beats. And the tenor has a lovely floating we knew a little bit later, but perhaps because of a breath support issue, which I don't know if he's going to approach or not, but again, it was fading away a little bit and perhaps needed a little bit more. I think the main thing here is they have great technique, but it's very apparent, it's very clear when they're doing their technique. And what we want to see to bring them to the next stage is that the technique is so good that we stop noticing they're doing the technique and just appreciate the technique. Okay, that's me done.
Okay, so from a performance perspective, I would probably be scoring them also sort of mid-B, around a 72. So great things are they're obviously very confident, their stage presence again, they're very well rehearsed and they're very unified in that. They're very together. Beautiful singing. I don't need to touch on that necessarily because I think you can all hear it, but this lovely smooth singing that's really suitable to the sentiment, and certainly the quieter moments are really beautifully controlled, that kind of thing. All of them are engaging visually with the story. All four of them know what they are singing about. So things that I might pick up on for them to start climbing those scores even higher are their physicality in terms of the fact that they have this beautiful unified sound and unified approach, but especially, so we had the midsection first, which is a little bit different, I think, but you can certainly see in this last bit that we've just watched, they've got this setup between them where they've obviously made a conscious choice that for this song they're going to go with some stillness to suit the arrangement, but it's actually come across, certainly with the lead 3 and 4 on the right hand side of the screen for us, a little bit more like stiffness rather than stillness, and it's a little bit kind of creating some tension, and I think they need to just relax into that a little bit more. Stillness can work really well as long as you're not actually kind of holding yourself very steady. You need to still have that physical freedom to engage visually with what you're singing as well, and that's also in that visual vocal agreement that I flagged at the beginning as well. And then the other thing is the way that normally we might expect a slightly different formation in terms of the lead is looking out across at quite an angle a lot of the time, and they've set up this almost triangular formation rather than a normal stack that we're used to. And for me, the issue this causes is that they're not really inviting the audience into their song. It's quite insular. They're each telling their own individual story rather than all supporting this one story that the lead should be giving to the audience. So I think to take them a step up, they've got some lovely musical and singing things going on, but if they could then be much more giving to the audience and inviting them into the emotion, I think that will take them to the next level as well. And then I think that actually if the three harmony parts, thought about supporting the lead story more than just telling their own individual version of it, that there would be a bit more visual unity as well in that. So Rhiannon.
Thank you, Helen. Well, from the singing category, I found this as a very accomplished performance, okay? And from the outset, when they started, I thought, yes, this starts with a 7. Definitely the score starts very clearly with a 7. So you settle into it and you enjoy the performances. And they've got some beautiful vocal expression things. They've already been identified. The ruffle, laughter, they change the tonal quality. They use little inflections and enunciations of the words to paint the picture, which is beautiful. There are some lovely little duetting moments in there. The baritones, once upon a time, that bit there, it's all beautiful, and they know exactly what they're doing. They're well rehearsed. And there's it's keeping that consistent. And I think Helen's point of bringing and inviting the audience into it is really, really important here. So if I'm looking for moments to get them to the A level performance, I gave them 74 overall in the end. Very occasionally, the harmonic support needs to just be consistent, okay? And there were some interruptions to that. If I look at the quartet and I'm looking at the quartet, something that takes me out of the song is to think, why is that happening? And you have a look at it. Now, if you look at all the different positions that they've got physically and posture-wise, I would say if I was going to do something and coach this quartet, I would be looking to try and get them to align their body so that they can support the sounds. They've got tremendous voices there, but they kind of need to be able to sound a little bit more supporting so that the sound carries on right the way through. If you look, the baritone on the left-hand side, he's leading with his chin. The bass occasionally leads with his chin. The tenor on the right-hand side has got his shoulders hunched. All of this, they need to get into this relaxed position so that the vocals that they clearly have got there are consistent right the way to the very, very end, all right? So that the airflow and the breath is totally consistent all of the time, right the way through to, I can see that they're involved, all of them are involved, but I think Helen's point is well made that they're involved in their own little world rather than bringing everybody in to listen to what they're actually doing. And you can do that by the way that you stand. So alignment is something that I think that they could do. They could spend more time on looking at that, trying to get it right. Absolutely consistent. It's having that stillness and consistency and maximizing those opportunities for the beautiful vocal expression things that they put in. Ruffle and laughter was a different tonal quality, some beautiful vocal contrast that in the whole of this performance. It was really a pleasure to listen to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ree. That's great. Well, as ever, time marches on. So we're going to just jump straight into appreciating the final performance today, which is from the Locksmiths. Take it away.
Everything was how happy we were then, but somehow, once upon a time, never comes this way again. My love, she was mine once upon a time.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're starting off with performance feedback this time. So just if you are scoring at home, I would probably be giving this just on the cusp of that top B level there, around an 80. Obviously, they are a very accomplished quartet. They have evident musicality and energy. There isn't a single note that sits still. Every note has some sort of journey of its own, has a little bit of sparkle on it, and they use that to kind of really beautifully paint some emotion. They've got some excellent vocal control and expressiveness, which was one of those big 5 that performance category looks at the beginning. Their visual and vocal agreement as well is really good. They've got this lovely poignant stillness during their quiet moments, and they're very free in their physicality. They got physical energy as well at where the arrangement is building to its most emotional moments and its peaks. But of course, we're on a score of 80, not a score of 100. So there are always going to be things that we can bring out for quartets to improve on and choruses to improve on. And when they're at this level, when they are this good, that's when we can start to get really picky, and we can say things like, this word was out of sync, or this chord didn't tune. And this is the kind of thing where the performance category starts picking up on moments that distract us or take us out of the moment rather than overarching things. So, for example, they've got their own tag. It's not the tag that we're all used to, and it's fantastic, and it's got some lovely emotional chords in there. But on the word "my," I think there were some tuning issues, and that took me out of the moment as well. They've got to be a little bit careful with some of their physical and their posture things as well, because they get a little bit tense when they're louder. So we've got to not get energy and tension, too much crossover there. And they've got what I like to call the takeoff stance, which is when people are thinking about being very earnest in their emotions. They kind of have a physical need to bring the top of their body forward and really lean into it. But actually, that's not going to be very good for the singing overall if you're thinking about things like alignment and our best posture for singing. So you see it a little bit, particularly in tenor and baritone. This kind of almost looks like they might have rockets on the bottom of their shoes and they're about to shoot off into the sky. That's why I call it the takeoff posture. But just be careful that earnestness doesn't affect your good singing posture as well. There's just a couple of things that we can pick up on, and then I think I'm handing over to Ree again.
Thank you. Well, you said all the things that I wanted to say, Helen. Okay, a very accomplished performance, which is, again, just reinforces that we do overlap. A very accomplished performance. Wow. What a wonderful setting of the atmosphere from the outset at the beginning of this part of the recording. It was just there. It was spellbinding, and they controlled it, and it was beautiful. And it was a heartfelt, sincere, believable delivery as far as I was concerned. The vocal expression was consistent. Sometimes, as Helen said, there are things that got in the way of that. So anything that takes you out of the moment focuses you on it, but the expansion was consistent and the unity was very good right the way through. A rich, matched vocal quality. Well done. But there were the minor distractions. Yes, there were some movements there that actually didn't help the support that they needed, and it actually ended up with a little bit of muscle, a bit of pressure being put into some of the sounds. They were emphasizing it. It was an emotional involvement, but because they were emotionally involved, there was a little bit too much vocal pressure on it, and that's what was happening. So I think what we need to have from there, my is one of the words. The other one that really I thought about was the Once Upon a Time, where the lead goes very, very high in his range, but he's got absolutely notes above that to sing well within his capability. It's well there, but it kind of needs to be up there, and the sound needs to float rather than pressurizing it and kind of trying a little bit too hard to make the emotion come through in the voice. And because you put that little bit of effort, it becomes a little bit what we used to call constricted. We still call it constricted, but very occasionally, you know, the energy and the effort was quite strong going into the tag. And I understand that, because it's really, you're just reminding everybody what you've told them all about. But you kind of need to be able to grow and sustain that. So breath support, all of that right the way through to the end, rather than vocal pressure. Let the breath do the work for you in that, as far as that's concerned. But a great performance. I had them down as 79. I didn't have it starting with an 8 because of those things that took me out of the moment. All right, and it needs to be absolutely clear. There were some very artistic moments in there that were of an A quality, but not sufficient for me to start it with an 8 or an 81. That's why I gave it 79.
Thank you very much, Ree. So even at this level, there's still going to be a lot of crossover with the other two categories. And I'm aware we're a bit short of time, so I want to specifically pick up on what musically I would take out of this as opposed to the other categories. I talked at the beginning about theme being one of the things that we look at. Now, the theme I would take out of Once Upon a Time is a harmonic theme. The harmonies are really, really important, and they really make the most of the harmonies in this. There's wonderful growth through the held notes that keep interest and believability as well. The tag, Helen alluded to the fact this is not a normal tag for the song. The one that Rob Campbell originally arranged is a lot simpler. They've put their own one on it. Sometimes that works, sometimes that doesn't. In this case, I think it really did work. I think it enhanced the harmonic theme that we already had, made the emotional believability that much greater. As Rhea alluded to, there were moments perhaps of over singing in the tag that slightly took us out. But when they were on it, I mean, some lush harmonies, really well delivered, and we're really seeing some artistry come in here. The problem is that my score is at 80, flat 80, and there's still 20 more marks to get. And the 20 marks for me are about consistency and about always being there and not having those moments of distraction. But wonderful, wonderful stuff, and such a joy to listen to.
Thank you very much, Ed. Fantastic stuff. So I think hopefully so far you'll hopefully have got quite a sense of the overlap between all of the categories. They are speaking a slightly different language within each of the different categories. They're looking for different things, but the impact of elements within the performance are going to make such a difference to the way that each of the categories is able to appreciate those things. And so there is elements of overlap there, but equally there are elements where you can get a sense that a lot of these performances are having star quality in there. That last performance there had got quite a lot of these A qualities. Were they fully in A? Well, perhaps not, but those things are elements that they can develop and they can build further, and that when they do so, you can hear that every single judge in every category is going to start celebrating with them, because it's just making those extra bits add to the music and put ourselves as an audience in this position where really we're just not aware of any of these techniques anymore. We're just totally engrossed in what they're doing. Anyway, this is the time for questions. So far, to my knowledge, we have had just one question come through, which is sure a meaty question there. Thank you very much for that one there, Kevin. Just in case anybody didn't spot it, there's been a lot of talk of recent about inclusivity and about perhaps elements in songs that would have been deemed as being socially unacceptable now, but in the past could have been pure staples of the barbershop style. So I'm going to ask Helen to make a couple of comments on this, but it is a bit of a minefield. So in view of the amount of time we've got, we're not going to be able to spend a huge amount of time on this. Helen.
Yes, so it's in the performance category's remit to take into account taste when it comes to your music choices. So that's why we often are a bit more clued up about the songs that we would potentially flag in a contest. I think the question is actually, how can competitors ascertain the judges' views on these regarding specific songs? And the simple answer is to ask us, of course. We are at the end of emails all of the time, and the whole category can be in touch with one another. So you won't necessarily just get the response of one judge. You'll be worried about anything missed. I've got to say that I kind of feel quite strongly that it should be down to the competitors in general to be checking their songs and background checking their songs. And really, you shouldn't be performing a song unless you've done a bit of research into it and you know what it is that you're performing, because it's going to help you then when you're looking at how you approach it emotionally or how you connect to it personally, that kind of thing. But to be honest, if you are in doubt, and it will certainly get to this point, the more used to the various inclusive kind of areas that we look at are, the more we get used to this, the more that you will be able to vet songs yourself. And to be honest, it'll get to the point where if you're questioning it, it's likely that it's probably one you should avoid performing. And there should be in your mind a kind of question of, is this song going to be inclusive to as many people as possible? It's the same as if you we also pick up on things that are primarily patriotic or primarily religious. And if it kind of feels like you're singing a song about praying to God or America is wonderful or something like that, then maybe if you're already questioning it, it's probably going to fall into that category and you shouldn't be singing it. So I think personally, I kind of feel like the onus, and this is as a performer myself as well, the onus needs to be on the performer to do the background research into their song. If they're still not sure, especially at this time where we're all finding our feet around the subject of inclusivity and equality and all that kind of thing, then just drop us an email and we will help you look into that kind of thing as well and have those discussions with you. So the question is, how do you ascertain our views? Drop us a line. Our 4 emails will be at the end of this presentation as well. But yeah, do get in touch.
Thank you very much, Helen. Excellent stuff. So the gates are now open. We do have more questions. So next one up is from Simon. And I think this one should be directed in your territory, Ree, but it says, how important are individual voices within a quartet, for example, the lead bass match versus the individual quality of each of the singers? Ree, do you want to give us a quick couple of nuggets on that?
I'll try my very best. Thank you, Mike. Individual voices are really important, but they have got to match each other so that they maximize. If you've got one good voice with another good voice, but they don't have the same tonal qualities and they can't match the resonance, and resonance is a completely big topic all on its own, then they're not going to maximize the potential of getting the sound together, whether it's lead and bass. If you've got a light lead voice and you've got quite a driving bass voice or a very resonant bass voice, getting the match between those two voices is going to be hard. So this is where working together to develop, getting the match together. We don't want anybody to blend. We want them to match. The voices need to match so that they can be as close as they can to each other in sound, in tonal quality. Obviously, accuracy is really important. And once that becomes the norm so that they're consistent and feeling happy with singing the things consistently, and that is the word that comes from all of us, it's the consistency, the repeatability of everything, then the sound will become more secure. That's when then the role of the baritone between the lead and the bass becomes absolutely paramount, because they need to be able to enhance the two of them together. So it's not just the match between the lead and the bass, it's the role of the baritone within that match as well, but maximize the potential of the three sounds together, which allows the tenor to just drop in on the top very quickly. Okay, thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much, Ree. We are motoring through them. We've got one more question I think that we're going to take now, which is from Alva in IABS. Ed, do you want to take that one, please?
Yes, so Alva's asking basically, because of the limitations, when you want unity of singing and you want to limit the distractions, is it acceptable to transpose songs from the key that it's written in if it sits better for a group and therefore helps reduce tension and improve singing? And the simple answer to that is absolutely. There is no hard and fast rule about what key you should sing something in. And in fact, you'll see the higher level quartets and choruses very often going, I like this arrangement, but I don't like the key. It's got to fit around us. What you can even go further, we don't judge you if you alter an arrangement. We judge you on the arrangement that you deliver on stage. So you might find that you want to edit a section, you get sometimes people changing the approach into a tag, so the tag ends up in a different key. That's all acceptable, providing it feels like it fits the musical message that you're trying to sell. The most important thing is actually just that you pick the key that's right for you, because then you're going to deliver a much freer performance. You're not going to be worrying about straining for those notes, so then you're going to be delivering a much more believable performance from yourself. You can be more relaxed and make a more expansive sound. There's so much depending on sitting in the right key. So yes, the short answer is yes, absolutely. Pick the key that's right for you. Don't worry about the key it's written in.
Brilliant, Ed. Thank you very much. Well handled. Again, all of our judges for handling this so succinctly and concisely today. Time has run away with us. Quick few thank yous and a couple of reminders in terms of what our learning objective was. So first of all, we wanted to try and give you an understanding of what the different judging categories were looking for, how they overlap with each other, and essentially what things work within a C, a B, and an A performance, and the elements that might overlap within those. So hopefully we've covered those for you. I'd like to express my sincere thanks to our judges who have been looking after the sessions today, to Ed, to Helen, and to Ree, but also very much to Pippa, who's been looking after us in the background and parking all the questions in the right direction and keeping us on track with timing. So thank you very much to all of you out there in the wider world of Barbershop who have joined us this morning and hopefully enjoyed and learnt something. Thank you to Steve from Solent City for your question. Hopefully, if you can email through, we will take that on board. You can see the email addresses on your screen at the moment for all of the judges that have been handling this session. So again, thank you all so very much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we enjoy the fact that you are still actively participating in Barbershop through this time of hardship where we cannot actually meet with each other. Thank you all so much and have a fantastic day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
And I just want to jump in and say thank you very much to Mike for chairing the session, as well as Helen, Rhiannon and Ed again, and all you attendees. So I hope you have a lovely weekend. Take a screenshot of those emails if you have any further questions, and we'll see you at the next sessions. Bye,
Thanks,
everybody.
Everyone.
Bye.